Dr. Dimple, thank you so much for summarizing the importance of seasonality and the concepts of Ayurveda. I think that'll be so useful to the listeners. We'll move on to the next question, burning question, actually. So how does Ayurveda and gut health relate to each other? Because you mentioned earlier it's a really foundational aspect of Ayurveda. So how about we jump a little bit deeper into gut health and Ayurveda and the principles involved?
It's actually a very close relationship, I think, Ayurveda and modern science have when it comes to gut health. Ayurveda talks about Agni. Agni is fire. It's called Jatran Agni in Ayurveda. It's not just fire. It's the digestive fire. It's the metabolic fire in your body that keeps you alive. If your body is 0 degrees, you're as good as dead, right? We're about 95 to 97 degrees Fahrenheit at any point in time, right? A warm body is a sign of life. A cold body is dead. Now, where does the warmth come from? The body has a digestive fire, a metabolic fire that helps in digesting food, transforming that food into digestive juice and transforming that digestive juice into plasma, blood, bone, bone marrow, muscles, adipose, sperm, egg, the various tissues that we see, which are the byproducts like muscles, skin, teeth, nails, and hair, right? So this digestive fire and this metabolic fire keeps you alive. It's also called the transformative fire that allows you to transform the food you've eaten into various body parts, right? So you eat a banana today, within a few hours, that banana has already become integral part of your entire human body. You can't separate the banana from the human body anymore. It's become part of the blood, it's become part of the tissues, it's become part of the organs because it goes in the form of nutrients. And each organ takes the nutrients to rejuvenate itself. So the liver can generate new liver cells. The gallbladder can generate new gallbladder cells. How intelligent is the body that from the same nutrients, we're not just feeding the organs, but allowing the organs to generate new cells of its own kind. So the liver can completely regenerate itself every 4 years. Every 4 years, you have a brand new liver. Okay, every 1.5 years, you have brand new skin. Your skin has completely fallen off, not overnight like a snake. It falls off on a daily basis. You lose a bit of your, surface level dead skin cells on a daily basis when you take a shower, when you clean up. On a daily basis, your skin is shedding. You can't see it with the naked eye. In 1.5 years, you have brand new skin. So that has come from the nutrients you've eaten, which has been digested, absorbed and assimilated due to the presence of digestive fire or the Jatran Agni. And then you have the metabolic fire. The metabolic fire are 7 different kinds. This one metabolic fire that basically transforms the digestive juices into plasma. There's a second kind of a metabolic fire that transforms the purified plasma into blood. There's a third kind of a digestive metabolic fire that transforms the purified part of plasma into muscles. And the byproduct is skin. Then there's a fourth metabolic fire that transforms the purified part of the muscle into adipose, which is good fat. Okay? And every part of the body has fat, right? From your eyes, nose, ears, mouth. Without fat, they cannot sustain. Adipose is a good fat in the lubricants. Every liquid substance in your body is adipose. The mucus, the water, the fluids, right? The purified part of adipose is converted through another metabolic fire, which has an Ayurvedic name, converted into bone. The purified part of the bone, which has a byproduct of teeth and nails, is converted into bone marrow, and the byproduct is the nervous system. The most delicate part of the body, bone marrow, nervous system, comes in the 6th stage. Then the purified part of the bone marrow is converted through another metabolic fire into sperm, eggs, and the reproductive organs. So the aliments that you've eaten today takes at least 27 to 28 days for it to reach the reproductive organs. So if you think you've eaten almonds today, you'll become strong tomorrow. That's not how it is. It takes at least 14 to 28 days for the food you've eaten today to reach the last cell and tissue of the body. So that's why when we do a diet plan, we say do it for at least 28 days to see some result. We say 90 days so that it becomes a habit. You know, Harvard says it takes 66 days for it to become a habit, not 21. 66, that it becomes such a habit that it's impossible for you not to do it. It's easier for you to do it than not do it. So you do it at least for 90 days. Now, Ayurveda says that this digestive fire is obviously in the gut, in the stomach, in the small intestine, in the large intestine. It helps in digesting food, absorbing and assimilating nutrients. The metabolic fire is throughout your body that's transforming all the digestive juices and the nutrients into various tissues that we see in the physical gross body, right? What we see is the final output. Now, the gut is the source of life. The gut is the fuel engine for the whole body. If the gut stops functioning, the brain, heart, liver, kidney, intestine will not have supply of nutrients. They will also fade with time and die. Of course, some people do fasting for about 60 days, 90 days, 100, 200 days without food. They have mastered absorbing nutrients from just water. Okay, so that's a different stage. We will get to that when we come to that, when we talk about sages and monks. Now, this digestive fire in the gut is very critical, integral for you to be alive. Modern science says, Ayurveda said it in different language. Modern science says it even more clearly now. The gut is called the second brain because it's got more neuroses lining its walls, and there are neurons in the brain. What are neurons? They allow you to sense, they allow you to feel, they allow you to experience. Right? Now, we consume information through the 5 senses, but our emotions are practically experienced in the gut. When you feel anxious, scared, excited, nervous, butterflies fluttering in the stomach, you feel it in the gut first. Okay? Memories are also stored in the gut. When you remember your grandmother, you suddenly start salivating, not because your grandmother was yummy, but you start remembering the food she used to feed you, the pickles, the lassi, the milkshakes, the home-cooked foods. Now your gut is responding to that trigger of memory by reminding you how you felt in the presence of your grandmother, the smell. Some people even remember the distinct smell of the grandmother's skin. It's a very distinct smell because they used home products. You remember the smell, you remember the sight, you remember the taste of the food. You remember how your gut felt when you were around your grandmother. It felt relaxed, it felt happy. Okay, when you see a roller coaster, you already feel butterflies fluttering because the gut has a memory of your previous roller coaster, right? And says, hey, the last time you went on a roller coaster, right? The gut was haywire. We were thrown off our track, right? Now, the gut also has emotions, memories, and intuition. Intuition comes from the gut. This was said in modern science, proven in Ayurveda, experienced by the sages and monks through spiritual retreats. When they retreated spiritually and ate less only during the daytime, 2 meals a day or just 1 meal a day, they were giving the digestive health complete break and rest. When the digestive health is in a complete break and a rest during fasting, intermittent fasting or 24-hour fasting, the gut is now available for the thought process because the gut is directly connected to the brain through a neurosis that sends messages every micromillion seconds. When it's busy digesting food, it is only communicating to the brain how to digest. The brain is communicating what digestive juices to make. The gut is communicating back if it's happy, if it's unhappy, if it's comfortable, uncomfortable. So when you feel bloated or when you're gassy or you have flatulence, constipation, diarrhea, IBS, the gut is sending distress signals to the brain and the brain is unable to focus at work. The brain is constantly listening to its partner. The gut and the brain are in a marital relationship and they communicate every micromillion second. So when the gut is in a digestive break, when it's got a complete break from digesting, eating, absorbing, assimilating, it starts helping the brain make intuitive decisions. The decisions come from the gut. That's why they say, stay hungry if you want to become successful, because the gut then comes up with ideas for the brain. Obviously, the gut is not ideating, but the gut has intuition. It guides you. So it's like a GPS system that Mother Nature's installed inside of you to keep you alive. So when you look at fire, you don't touch fire because the gut says, hey, this can burn you. This can scald you. Okay, you don't need modern science to come and explain to you, hey, listen, don't touch fire. Even the tribes in the jungles who've not been exposed to modern science are able to survive perfectly well and even better than us. Why? Because they listen to the gut. They listen to nature. The gut is connected to nature. Now, the gut is also where digestion, absorption, assimilation happens. The gut has 1 trillion plus bacteria in it. 85% good and 15% bad bacteria is an acceptable ratio. Now, the bad bacteria gives you bad cravings. The bad bacteria loves bad foods like pizzas and burgers and breads, which rots and putrefies and gets stuck in the system for days together, because that allows the bad bacteria to multiply and feed on it. The good bacteria craves good foods. It'll suddenly crave bitter food like a bitter gourd. It'll suddenly crave an ashcart juice. It'll suddenly crave carrot and beetroot. It'll suddenly crave, like how children crave. So you have to invest in your good bacteria by eating good food so that the good bacteria can again guide your cravings, guide your intuition. Right? Now, this is where modern science and Ayurveda comes together. Now, Ayurveda says we must keep our gut clean. We must eliminate toxins on a daily basis. There should be no constipation, no diarrhea, IBS. That's the first rule. Modern science says the colon is literally the 90% controller of health. An unhealthy colon is a trigger of 90% of the diseases, right from psychosomatic imbalance to neurological disorders, skin diseases, gastrointestinal, musculoskeletal, gynecological disorders, and all the way up to clinical depression. So modern science says and Ayurveda says that you must first eliminate toxins from your body and keep the colon healthy. Then modern science and Ayurveda says your digestive fire must be kept healthy and your good bacteria must be enhanced and your bad bacteria must be kept under control. Both sciences agree that you must give your digestive health break by doing intermittent fasting, fruit fasting, water fasting, and you must consume good amount of prebiotics and probiotics, which is available in nature. Prebiotics are your fruits loaded with good bacteria and enzymes. Probiotics are your buttermilks, your kombuchas, your kefirs, your pickles, which our grandmothers and ancestors have mastered over the many years. Modern science validates their effort. Now, what modern science is great at is research, is evidence-based science. What Ayurveda is good at is preserving and helping us plug back into nature. So when these two sciences come together, preventive and curative healthcare life science, traditional sciences and research-based science, we can preserve our health and save humanity.
Wow. I love that summary. It's so apt what you said about how important the gut actually is to the body. And it's so pleasing to see that Ayurveda has captured that historically. And even so, in that research, how do they talk about, or I should say the oral traditions or the written traditions, what do they say about bacteria? How do they talk about that? Is there any clues?
So, Ayurveda obviously speaks in a regional language. Naturopathy speaks in its own language. Homeopathy speaks in its own language. They're all preventive healthcare life sciences. What my understanding has been, because I use English to interpret what has been written in Ayurveda, and I obviously use modern terminologies, which modern science has given us to explain what has been written in Ayurveda. Ayurveda says that the herbs, the spices that we eat are all different forms of bacteria.
Oh, wow.
They all have different kinds of, right? Your fruits has a different kind of bacteria and fruit enzymes and fruit acids. Your vegetables have different kinds of enzymes and fiber. Your grains and pulses have different kinds of chemicals and fibers. When I say chemicals, it's not the chemicals that is made in a factory or an industry. Everything in this universe is made of chemical components, right?
Mm-hmm.
Organic chemicals, inorganic chemicals. Organic chemicals are the ones that we can ingest, we can consume, we can digest and absorb and assimilate, like fruits, vegetables, grains, legumes, pulses, nuts, and seeds. So we're on a daily basis consuming bacteria. That's why Ayurveda stresses on eating seasonal foods and eating local foods and not consuming anything that has been imported from another country. Now, with the advent of technology and being able to fly around and sail around the world, we have now started eating a lot of imported foods, which is confusing our gut. Now, I'm living in a tropical country. Tender coconut water is natural to me. Frozen foods is unnatural to my body in a tropical country. Now, if you're living in a country where foods are not grown throughout the year, you freeze your fruits and vegetables, you defrost them and eat them. Now, this was a technique that even our ancestors followed during harsh winters. They would take a combination of clay and grass and make a mold and preserve the fruits inside the mold. It would be completely sealed. In the Arabic countries, even today in Israel and other Middle Eastern countries, to this day, they still follow this technique. They can take grapes and put it inside this cauldron, which is literally like flattened clay and grass made into a flattened pouch. And the grapes are inserted inside and it is sealed. And even after a year, when you open that mold, you can still eat fresh grapes, right? So if you're eating frozen foods, In a country where there's no tropical vegetation, fair enough. But you eat fruits and vegetables that are native to your country. So you're ingesting the local bacteria to enhance your gut bacteria. Now, Ayurveda has a series of prebiotics and probiotics, depending on your body type. We start our day with 200 ml of warm water and some lemon. If you're an endomorph body type, lemon has its own different kind of bacteria, which is acidic. It helps in dissolving fat. It helps in dissolving undigested foods. If you're someone who's very dry, you can start your day with ghee, which has butyric acid, which has good bacteria again, right? And then you can have a bowl of fruits or stewed fruits, raw fruits, up to you. Again, you're ingesting bacteria. These are prebiotics, bacteria. Your cooked food may not have bacteria alive because you've cooked it. But what the cooked food does is it quickly goes to the digestive system and gets absorbed and assimilated in the form of nutrients much faster than raw vegetables. Okay? And then you have your probiotics. Your probiotics are your buttermilk, excellent source of bacteria. Fermented yogurt, excellent source of bacteria. Fermented coconut yogurt, dairy-based yogurt. Pickles, you can pickle any vegetable. You can use vinegar, you can use, a natural lemon to pickle your vegetables. You have your kombuchas and kimchis and sorkats. So we have a series of fermented foods even in Ayurveda. In fact, honey is also fermented over days by keeping it in a bottle. The older the honey, the more healthier it is. Ayurvedic herbs are converted into kashayams and aswams, and these are different categories of medicines. These medicines are also slowly fermenting inside. And in fact, there's one medicine that has been banned by the Indian government, which I absolutely loved, and I realized much later why I loved it. It's called Draksha Rishtam. It's made from fermented grapes. And because of its fermentation, the alcohol content in it goes up dramatically within a few days. So it was actually considered a form of alcohol rather than a medicine. And that medicine was excellent for cold, cough, and sinus and allergies, which is why we feel a little drugged and heavy when we have a cold medicine, right? Because it has some amount of alcohol in it. That fermentation process has gone a bit too far. People have started consuming alcohol. Now that is unhealthy bacteria. So this is how Ayurveda understands good bacteria, bad bacteria. Now, if you have breads excessively, fermented breads that has a long shelf life, unfortunately, it becomes bad bacteria. If you're having fresh sourdough bread made in the morning, healthy. But if it has a long shelf life of 7 days, 10 days, that becomes bad bacteria because now they're fermenting, they're rotting, they're putrefying, they're releasing carbon dioxide and methane and other gases. They're becoming smelly, eating rotten food. So this is a concept of bacteria in Ayurveda. And by the way, we introduce good bacteria through the colon, through a treatment called Matra Basti, by introducing medicated herbal oil decoctions. If someone's digestive health is weak, or if the gut health is weak, or if there are toxins sitting inside, then we introduce good bacteria in the form of medicines into the body.
That's like an enema, similar to an enema in the West.
Like an enema, but you don't flush out immediately. The medicine is retained in the colon for anywhere between 1 to 12 hours, so the body can absorb the bacteria, the herbs, the medicinal properties. And then when you have a natural earth, the body releases the waste along with the oil, but it has absorbed the herbs out of it.
That's amazing. I'm really conscious of your time because you've been so generous. I think we could speak for hours and hours on Ayurveda. I'm actually learning so much. It's a fascinating topic. But we better move on to the next question that I have is, how is Ayurveda used as a vehicle to address things like, very common gut ailments in the West, like, for instance, constipation, diarrhea, SIBO, candida? There might be some others that you can think about. So how do you use these concepts to tackle these problems?
So, now gut health issues has become very rampant. And that, by the way, goes hand in hand, and much due credit to the food packaging industry. I would give all credit to the food packaging industry for the gut health issues that we are facing now. Now, food industry and pharma industry have grown hand in hand. The more you consume packaged foods, the weaker your gut health, the worse your bad bacteria, and then your dependency on drugs, steroids, and antibiotics to recover from it, right? Food industry profits from your addiction to their foods. They don't care about health. They profit from your addiction to their foods. 95%. Now there's a sudden growth of organic conscious manufacturers who growing organic foods, much credit to them and kudos to them. Pharma industry profits from your disease, not from health. They can only profit when you're diseased and sick. So what you need to understand is the bacteria has to be preserved, the good bacteria, right? And what Ayurveda does is it gives you a series of remedies, preventive healthcare remedies. Now you start your day with, say, warm water ghee or warm water lemon to enhance your good bacteria and to get rid of bad bacteria. Then you have a bowl of fruits to enhance your good bacteria. You have a bowl of sauteed vegetables versus raw vegetables. Ayurveda doesn't recommend raw foods because raw foods is also home to parasites, bacteria, and tapeworm eggs. If they enter the body, they can cause a series of chronic diseases. So the first thing I tell people who are suffering from H. pylori or Candida or SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, I'm like, stay away from raw foods because you don't want to ingest more bacteria. Have sauteed vegetables instead and allow the body to decide what is bad bacteria and eliminate it through the colon and through the feces, through the urine. Ayurveda then gives a series of oral medication, herbs, which helps in killing the unhealthy bacteria. Simple example. Bitter gourd is given to diabetic patients to kill the sugar level in the blood, to make it bitter, and to allow the pancreas to function. Neem, which is the herb, the most common herb available in the tropical regions of the Indian subcontinent, has been given to children during the summer season to help boost their immunity against chickenpox, smallpox, which was a deadly disease back then. It also helps in purifying the blood, detoxifying the body, and cleaning up the skin of pimples and acne. Because of the bitterness, neem basically kills all kinds of parasital worms inside the body. Then you have a series of other spices like turmeric, cinnamon, cardamom, clove, grated ginger, pepper, star anise that are anti-inflammatory. We have about 10,000 specialized herbs that helps in purifying the body from within. So that helps in getting rid of the bad bacteria and enhancing the good bacteria and strengthening it. Then we also introduce medicines through the skin, through the colon, through the nose, through the eyes, mouth, and ears. How? Through the skin, we introduce medicated oils. We help in massaging the body. These medicated oils seep through the pores. Our skin is extremely porous. It absorbs and assimilates everything that we apply on it. That helps in purifying the skin from underneath it, at least the top few layers. And some of it can actually seep through the pores into the bloodstream faster than the food that you eat. Then we introduce medicines through the nose, through nose drops. We introduce medicines through the ears to clean up the ears. We also introduce medicine into the eyes, eye drops and netra tarpanam. We have oral medication, and we introduce medicine through the colon to flush out parasital worms, undigested food, heavy metals, toxins, and most importantly, the bad bacteria that the body has decided to release. You can't segregate it yourself. You have to allow the body to decide what to eliminate and what to keep. So that's where Ayurveda plays a role in helping manage the gut flora.
Wow, that's fascinating. That's so interesting and counterintuitive in many ways as well. The other question I have to follow up is, I think, there's a whole gamut of gut issues that we could focus on, but I thought we'd also include something that's not gut related. Someone like myself who's struggling a little bit with a bit of sinusitis and a chesty cough. So I'm being a little bit selfish, but how would you deal with something like that? So I've got mucus production in my throat, sinuses blocked up, particularly at night. How would Ayurveda deal with this?
I'm going to give you 2 quick remedies, and you're going to do it today, right after our podcast recording. And in the next 3 to 5 days, you're going to be as good as new, and you're going to tell me about it. Okay.
Wow.
So number 1, when you wake up in the morning, you're going to take a face steamer. A face steamer can be an electric one, or you can just take a bowl of hot water. Be very careful not to burn yourself. You take a face steamer, put a few drops of eucalyptus oil. Eucalyptus oil is called Nilgiri Tel in Hindi. It is anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, antiseptic as well. It helps in curing cold, cough, sinus, and fever symptoms as well, and lowers blood pressure if you have high BP. You just put a few drops of eucalyptus oil in your face steamer, cover your head with a towel, inhale and exhale for at least 5 to 10 minutes, and allow the eucalyptus oil to enter your lungs and open up your sinus passages. You'll notice that your sinus is opening up, the mucus is dripping out of the nose and into the throat as well sometimes. So you need to immediately cough out everything, cleanse it. Do not swallow the mucus because this is loaded with unhealthy bacteria and you don't want that. right? It also probably has some kind of viruses in it, which is causing the sinuses to get inflamed even more. And then you gargle your throat with warm water, pinch of turmeric, and some salt to cleanse your throat of any kind of parasites that might have drained into the throat. You cleanse your mouth and you sip warm water throughout the day. When you sip warm water, it constantly increases body heat and improves heat in the mouth nose region and constantly keeps the sinuses warm so that it doesn't become cold and blocked. And then you will also take 1 teaspoon of raw organic honey sourced from your topographic region. You'll add to this 1/2 teaspoon of grated ginger. Now, honey liquefies mucus. Honey is the only thing that can cause the mucus to break and drain out of your body. You'll add 1/2 teaspoon grated ginger, which is anti-inflammatory and heaty and potent. And then you'll add a pinch of turmeric, a pinch of pepper, a pinch of cinnamon to this, and you'll have this concoction raw. Do not mix it in hot water or milk. Honey turns toxic when you mix it in hot substances. You take this concoction twice a day if you want, morning and at bedtime. Again, at bedtime, you will massage your face with some cream and then steam with a few drops of eucalyptus oil, then cough out, and then cleanse your throat with warm water, turmeric, salt, and then have 1 teaspoon of honey, ginger, pepper, turmeric. Always sip warm water throughout the day. In 3 days, you'll be as good as new without having to take medication.
Wow. I'm going to try that out and I'll send you an email on how I went. But I think the audience would really appreciate it because we're kind of towards the end of winter into spring, but I think there's a lot of coughs and colds and stuff going about. So I think the audience would really appreciate that advice. I'm going to try it out. One follow-up question. Is it better to do the steaming in the morning or is it okay to do it at night as well?
You should do it actually both the times if you're suffering from chronic sinuses. So the reason why we do in the morning is because when you're sleeping at night for 8 hours, your body temperature drops. Your body also sometimes ends up collecting more mucus at night. So when you wake up in the morning, you always wake up with a little cold or a cough and you feel like, spitting out all the cough that's accumulated, the phlegm that's accumulated in the chest region, right? In the morning, when you wake up and steam, it's great because morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. is called the kapha clock in Ayurveda. It's the energy clock that says that 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., earth and water is more dominant in nature and thus in our human body. Earth and water is sluggish. It is responsible for that heaviness and mucus. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is when the sun is at the peak. Fire becomes dominant in nature. Fire becomes dominant in our body, and we don't experience that much cold and cough in the middle of the day. We notice some amount of relief because our body heat has gone up and it has started liquefying the mucus. Now, bedtime, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., the energy clock is again kapha, earth and water dominant. So the body starts cooling down, just like nature, and that heaviness allows you to fall asleep. But for some people who are sick, that heaviness can also lead to accumulation of mucus, cold, cough, and heaviness in the chest. So do it early morning hours and late in the evening at night, not in the middle of the day. You might end up burning your skin in the middle of the day because of excess heat outside the body, inside the body, and now in your steamer.
I see that. That's amazing, Dr. Dimple. Even that quick summary of how the body works on a daily basis with all these different periods of time where certain elements are more active, like fire in the middle of the day, the sluggishness in the morning and the night. And I think anyone can relate to that. So that's absolutely brilliant. I think I've taken enough of your time. I really appreciate it. I think we'll start to wrap at this point. Firstly, you mentioned your book a bit earlier on. How about you give us a little bit of a primer on what to expect with this brilliant book that's coming out?
So this book is everything that I wanted to share with you guys about my journey from sickness to health, from surgeries to becoming surgery-free finally. I was able to avoid my 5th surgery. My dad was able to avoid his gallbladder surgery, by just dissolving the stones with Ayurvedic remedies and herbs and spices and medicines, of course. This book focuses on gut health and how it impacts your mental and emotional health. It gives you a detailed understanding on that. Then it dives deep onto the basics of Ayurveda and how we can borrow from it to enhance our gut health. So it is a 5-step process to resetting your gut back to good health. We speak about the circadian rhythm, which is the energy clock, understanding what to eat, which time of the day, what activity to perform, which time of the day. What is the best time to sleep? When is the body detoxifying? When is the colon most active? When is the digestive fire most active? If you know the energy clock of your body and Mother Nature, you can actually reverse a lot of symptoms in your body. Number 2, we speak about the food pyramid, which groups of foods that you must eat more of and less of. Then it speaks about the digestion period of different foods. So different foods digest differently in the body, like fruits digest very quickly. Meat will take the longest time to digest in the body. Then we also talk about lifestyle changing habits, how to eat your food with your fingers, what kind of attention you must give, when should you drink water, when should you avoid drinking water. And we speak about the most important subject that I specialize in, which is called food chemistry or Viruddha Ahara in Ayurveda. Viruddha means wrong, conflicting. Ahar means food. It speaks about the right and the wrong combinations of foods that are either feeding your disease or your health. For example, something as simple as grapes and milk is so toxic when they come together in the tummy, it can instantly kill an infant.
Oh my God.
It can kill a grape milkshake is probably the most poisonous thing in the world. It doesn't exist. But if you had a bowl of grapes and you had a glass of milk right after, you will get sick within a few hours. So we speak about the different combinations of foods that you must be very conscious of, which has unfortunately given rise to skin diseases. You've seen a rise in skin diseases like psoriasis, eczema, rosacea, urticaria, vitiligo, alopecia, because of the wrong combinations of foods that we've been fed by the food packaging industry and that we're making at home nowadays. So that's the specialty, or the area of specialization rather, for me in terms of research that I've spent last 6 years on trying to find answers to why do we have this disease.
Wow. I'm 100% going to get a copy. I'm assuming it's going to be on Amazon at some point.
Oh, yes. So we will have the pre-order booking link out in the next 2 weeks. You can follow my Instagram handle and I'll be sending you a signed copy very soon. The book will be out in October. I can't wait for you guys to get a copy and own your health. Get your health back in your hands.
Brilliant. I'm so excited. And if people want to follow you, you're huge on Instagram. So what's the best place for people to get you?
So I'm on Instagram. The handle is at Dr. Dimple Jangda, DRDIMPLE. You'll easily find me. My clinic is at Prana by Dimple on Instagram. We're also on Facebook. We're on podcasts. It's called A Gut Story by Dr. Dimple. We're on LinkedIn. We're a little bit on YouTube, but we're everywhere that you can find. You just have to hit the search button for at DRDIMPLE. You'll find me and you'll find the pre-order booking link as well. I'll share it with you, Krivin, for the podcast listeners. I'd love for them to avail the early bird discount as well if they like.
Great. I'm so excited. And I'd love to end my show with this question. If there's one thing that you could do for your gut health today, what would it be?
Fasting. The best thing you can do for your gut health is give it rest. It has been working nonstop since you were born. Please give it some rest. The liver, which is the largest detoxifying organ in your body, will thank you that it can finally focus on its main job, which is detoxification, not just digestion. So give your body a break, 12 hours, 14 hours, 16, 24, 72 hours. If you can master it, the best thing you can do is fasting. And in fact, the religious season, for the Jains is approaching next week, where we will not be eating any kinds of fruits or vegetables for 8 days. We will not eat food after sunset. We will not eat food until 9 in the morning. We will also fast on some days with just plain boiled water. That is 8 days of resetting my gut and my mental, emotional, spiritual health back to its best form of health.
Wow. Love that. Thank you so much, Dr. Dimple.
Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful talking to you.
Pleasure.